Hey. I'm your humble host, Fizz Ed Music, and this right here, this is Urban Politics. I want to thank you all for liking and subscribing as you do. Please, as soon as you get a chance, after this video, run on over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Fizz Ed Music, Urban Politics. But without further ado, I want to run right into it or jump right into it like a car and drive because there's all types of tasty and delicious politics to sink our teeth into. Number one, let's talk about Walker versus Warnock. In my notes, I just have WTF. You know what that stands for. My thing is, how is this even a race, right? How is this even a race between Raphael Warnock, who is an upstanding, well-spoken, poised brother, ready for prime time, who's already done a great job in the Senate, poised to do more good work in the Senate. How is he even in a runoff against the likes of Herschel Walker? Now, Herschel Walker is a man, but he's a man with a ton of baggage who's not fit for office. You know, mentally, he's not fit for office. He's not fit to make a cup of coffee for me, but he's he's not fit for office. So how are they even in a runoff? But listen, a runoff in itself lets you know that Herschel Walker, he could win this race. He could win it. You know, Georgia could end up sending Herschel Walker to the Senate. Let's see how that rests in your soul when you think about that. So I hope that, you know, Georgians or Georginians, whatever, are really voting and are voting their conscience and paying attention to the fact that this guy is not the representation that they want in Congress, okay? You know what I'm saying? But TI is what a TI is, but I'm saying people should not sleep on him because just the fact that they're in a runoff right now lets you know that Herschel Walker has a shot at this Senate seat, and Georgians should be real scared of that. So why would someone vote for Herschel Walker if they were not Republican? If you weren't Republican, think about it, and you were an independent and say you didn't even get into politics all like that, you might sit back and you might say to yourself, well, look, I don't care about Herschel Walker's background. I don't care that he's estranged from some of his children and they claim he hasn't been there for him. I don't claim about the issues he's had with the women in his life, you know, putting guns to their head or any of that domestic violence stuff. I don't care about any of that. None of that has to do with him legislating. I get that. But you should hear the speeches and stuff that he does and say to yourself, this is not a guy who's cognitively well enough to be, putting his 2 cents, 1 cent, anything on legislation having to do with Georgia or any other place, right? But that's my point, though. Even if you don't get into politics, even if it's no big deal to you that he's got all this baggage, when you hear the man speak, you should say to yourself that he's not cognitively with it enough to represent Georgia in Congress. He just isn't, you know? Herschel Walker, his incoherent speeches mean nothing. Actually, this makes his base feel like he's one of them. So you might see those speeches. I see them all the time on TikTok and everywhere else, and you would think that speech means that ain't nobody voting for this guy because they can tell from that speech that he don't know what's going on and he's not coherent. No. A lot of the people who are voting and will vote for Herschel Walker, they ain't got no more sense than him. That's why they voting for the man. So they are one with this guy. They think when he messes up like that and all that type of stuff, they're like, yeah, I agree. And when he talks about how, yeah, Raphael Warnock, he's smarter than me and he gonna come in here and he gonna talk better than me and he gonna wear a nice suit and blah, 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 blah. They're like, yeah, because that's how them people are. The people who sold us the house with the mortgage we can't pay for. They wore nice suits and they use big fancy words. So that guy ain't no good because he got an education. I'm telling you, some of those people believe like that. They believe that if you use the King English and you are somewhat articulate and know how to put a thought together, then you ain't right. You ain't one of us. You're not one of the people. You one of them fancy liberals that went off to some fancy liberal college and learned how to talk. See what I'm saying? So a lot of the stuff that Herschel Walker does, and I'm not saying that he's not stupid because I do think he's stupid. I think he's stupid. But the point is that shtick works with a lot of people because there's a lot of people who are one with that. They're like, I'm a person of low intelligence. Why not have a person of low intelligence represent me in Congress? Anyway, moving on. Georgia deserves better. Georgia deserves better. They do. Georgia Stick with Raphael Warnock. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? He's just a good man who's done right by y'all already. So why would y'all not send him right back to the Senate? He's already showed you that he's a good man and he knows what he's doing and he does a good job. So send him back again. Like I said, I don't like the fact that he's even in a runoff. In a runoff with the likes of Herschel Walker. Really? So there's people out there who are sitting there saying, I don't know. Raphael Warnock, he's already did a good job in the Senate, but there's something about this Herschel Walker guy. Something about him, I might switch gears and vote for him. What are these people smoking? Because that's stupid. But that's what this runoff is saying. Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about Jeffrey Bezos. Let's talk about Jeff Bezos. Now, he says he will give away or donate the majority of his net worth to charities fighting climate change, as well as supporting people who can help to heal the political and social divisions. Wow. When I heard that, I'm like, man, that sounds great. That's amazing, right? Says he will donate most of his money during his lifetime. Bezos is currently the fourth richest person in the world behind Elon Musk. So here's a guy with all this money, but he's saying he's going to give most of it away while he's still walking the planet, you know? And I'm like, that's interesting. And then the things that he said he's going to give it to, you know what I'm saying? Fighting climate change and, you know what I'm saying? Political and social divisions. Like I said, this all sounds good. I hope he means it. But the fact that he would even sit there and make that statement and put it out there like, yeah, a lot of this money, I'm going to give it away. I'm going to donate it to charity before I even walk off the planet. The bulk of this money will be donated to charities. My hat's off to him, because I ain't going to lie, I don't know if I'll be the same, but it's great to hear him say that, because that's something that needs to happen. This announcement came after he gave Dolly Parton, a person who I love, I talked about on the show about some of her good works and good deeds. He gave her $100,000 for her, quote, listen, love and compassion in every aspect of her work. I have to agree with that. My son is a part of this Dolly Parton thing where she gives books to kids. So my son gets a book from her, I think, at least once a month. It's a Dolly Parton book. You know, something that she wanted to give a bunch of kids. Hats off to that lady. She does amazing things. I've talked about on the show how she's done things amazing for employees at Dollywood and all of that good stuff. So I ain't mad that he gave her $100,000. She deserves it. He says Amazon will be 100% renewable by 2025 and carbon neutral by 2040. And he also tried to get other companies to join in on this. You know, sign an agreement saying that they would be carbon neutral by 2040. You can imagine how that went over. Not well at all. Because I think the bulk of them didn't sign it. Because I couldn't find one company who was like, yeah, we'll sign on with it. No. Companies ain't doing that unless they have to, because that's expensive. But the fact that he said he's willing to do the work, willing to pay the money to do these things to help the environment, once again, hats off to Mr. Bezos. That's big stuff, right? Amazon produced, let me go back. First of all, Amazon carbon levels have risen every year since 2018, so that's not good. So that's another reason that Bezos is even on this stuff, because he is himself one of the biggest offenders of the environment, right? Carbon levels have risen since 2018. That ain't no good. This is 2022. So since 2018, them carbon levels have been going up. That's not good at all. They said Amazon produced 60.64 million metric tons of carbon dioxide last year, which is the equivalent of burning 140 million barrels of oil. Oh my Lord. The equivalent of burning 140 million barrels of oil. That is egregious, ladies and gentlemen. That's bad. You know that ain't good for the environment. So Mr. Bezos is looking to atone. He probably should be, because that is just forgot darn ridiculous right there. I'm like, 140 million barrels of oil. That's a lot of carbon emissions coming out of Amazon. So, you know what I'm saying? It'll be a great thing if he gives away the bulk of his money to try and turn some of that stuff around. It looks like he caused a lot of it, or is causing a lot of it. The fact that he wants to do something about it before he walks off the planet, hats off to him. Moving on, let's talk about the GOP. Yeah, the GOP, the grand old party, ladies and gentlemen. Arizona Republicans call for GOP chair Kelly Ward to resign. They want her to leave. They think she's doing a bad job. What it is they're trying to make her the heavy, make her the scapegoat for all this stuff going on with the GOP, and a lot of it they brought upon themselves. And all this woman did was try to fall in line, but too little too late, and then you fell in line behind some BS, and that's the reason why your party went down in flames. Let me explain. So, Kelly Ward, they're mad at her because here it is, the first time in 10 years that Arizona has voted for a Democrat. So the first time in 10 years, Joe Biden got Arizona. They blaming her for that. She lost to Kari Lake, who I've talked about Kari Lake on this show. She's horrible. She's a demon beast. She's a baby female Trump. She's garbage. She lost, which she should have because she sucks. She lost, but she still won't concede in very Trump-esque fashion. She won't just say, I lost and I'll try it again next time. No, she want to go on about how elections are rigged and blah, 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 and refuses to concede. So that's her, right? She lost to this lady and then backed her. And when Lake lost, like I said, she refused to concede. So here it is. She lost to this lady because this lady was in bed with Trump. So her, being the Republican Party chair for Arizona, she said, I guess I kind of got to fall in behind this. That's what we're on now. Let me get in lockstep with the rest of my Republican brethren and sistren. But when she did that, right, Kari Lake went down in flames because she sucks. She's a trumpeter and people ain't on that. Unbeknownst to even some of these Republicans. There's even some Republicans, as we see, who ain't on that. So she lost that race. When she lost it, they also want to come at Kelly Ward again and blame her again. You the party chair, and the chick that you back, she went down in flames. All of this is your fault, right? So, and really all she did was the very Republican thing to do. She got in lockstep behind this other person who looked like they were popular, who looked like they were poised to win, and they were not. Right? She got in lockstep behind the trumpeters because that is who is ruling that party right now. They have a stronghold on that base. So she thought she was doing the right thing. Now I'm not holding no water for you know what I'm saying, Kelly Ward at all. You know what I'm saying? She losing her job, oh well. Because politics is blood sport, and guess what? You gotta have some backbone regardless. This woman is lacking in backbone, obviously, because she got in lockstep with all these trumpeters, and that's what, is causing them to calling for her to step down, right? So that is what it is. Republicans, they did get the House. They didn't get the Senate, which was historic. I talked about that last show about how, Joe Biden is the president. Historically, his party loses, the Democrat, historically should have lost the House and the Senate. They retained the Senate. Didn't get any gains in the House, lost House or whatever, didn't get the House, but they still got the Senate. So think about it, there's three branches of government. You have your executive, which is the president, you have your legislative, and you have your judicial, right? But you have, you got Democrats, Republicans, and the president, right? But right now, the executive is held by a Democrat, and Democrats control the Senate. So that means we have a Republican House. But see, in the holy trinity of politics, they standing alone. See what I'm saying? So that's a gain for the Democrats, right? That's a gain for the Democrats. So they're blaming a lot of people and things for this on the right. But these people in Arizona, they blaming her. They want her to step down. And they said it's the first time in 10 years that Arizona has went for a Democrat. So instead of just saying, or really just looking at the facts, here's the facts, ladies and gentlemen. Demographics are changing in Arizona. Yeah, I think there's a lot of Spanish people or people of Spanish descent in Arizona. So that would make that you'd probably end up having more Democrats there. I'm just sorry. Mostly or most times people of color tend to be Democrats for whatever reason. Just saying, statistically. So if you got more people of color in Arizona, you probably going to have more Democrats in Arizona. And that's what's going on. It's not this lady's fault. But the GOP is not going to admit that. They're not going to admit that their views are unpopular, that their policies are unpopular. Nah, they just keep doubling down on that unpopular madness. So, and instead of just being honest about it, they want to make this lady the heavy and the scapegoat. Oh, well, TI is what a TI is. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene got on TV and she said that the House will be looking to impeach Biden for what? Impeach Biden for what? And they'll also be looking to prosecute Nancy Pelosi. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting how Marjorie Taylor Greene, a person who we know helped a lot of those insurrectionists, the people who were yelling for Nancy, yelling to hang Mike Pence, she jumps up on there, and the first thing out of her mouth is, yeah, we're going to be prosecuting Nancy Pelosi. For what? For what? Now, I'm not saying Miss Pelosi got any halos over her head, but she ain't did nothing that ain't legal. You know what I'm saying? Whether you like some of the stuff she's done or not, and I've reported on some of them on this show, and not all of it good, but guess what? All of it legal. All of it just another day when it comes to, the game of politics here in America. So cut the games. Talking about they looking at criminal prosecuting Nancy Pelosi. And I hate to even say it, hate to let these words come out of my mouth on this show to you all right now, but guess what? Get ready to hear more about Hunter Biden's laptop. Jesus H. Christ. I don't want to hear any more about Hunter Biden's laptop, but that's coming. We're going to hear a lot more about that, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they learned nothing from this past election. Nothing. A lot of the stuff that helped them lose, they doubling down on, right? They still letting Trump dictate things. Trump, you know what I'm saying? He gave the green light or whatever, or he gave an endorsement to 330 plus people on that side, and they all lost. I think except maybe for one. And I'm like, maybe the one they might be talking about is J.D. Vance, and that saddens me because that happened right here in my state, the great, beautiful river state of OH and a dime. How did that happen? I don't know how that happened. I don't know how Tim Ryan lost to the likes of J.D. Vance. But Ohioans said that they want to send J.D. Vance to Washington. I don't know. I didn't vote for the dude, but whatever. I pray to God that he's a worthwhile legislator. I don't think that's going to happen, but I pray to God that's what happened. But you know what? When Tim Ryan lost, he said something that was extremely important. You know what he said? And I'm paraphrasing, but basically he said, hey, I lost. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Vance, I wish you the best going to Washington. The American people have spoken. He said that is the process in this country. So I am adhering to it and I am conceding. I lost. Congratulations, Mr. Vance. Please do right by us in the government. That's what's up. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, that's what it is. He gave his blessing to what we do around here. That peaceful transfer of power. Because Tim Ryan should not have lost to J.D. Vance. He should not have lost to J.D. Vance. But he did. Right? You know what I'm saying? And he's a legislator. He's a man of his salt. He's a man who believes in the democratic process. And he's like, the American people have spoken. They've spoken. And they said who they want. They want this guy. He beat me in the horse race. It is what it is. I'm going to bow out gracefully. And that's what politics is all about. And my hat's off to Mr. Ryan. Because he should not have lost that. But he did. So I guess that's a trumpeter who is going to Congress. So maybe that's the one that Trump got out of that 330 or whatever. But point being is that the GOP has hooked their wagon to him, and they're not letting loose no time soon. So TI is what TI is. Like somebody has said, even I think it might have been a Republican or something. He said they're following this guy right off a cliff because Trump is even unpopular now. He's talking about running again in 2024. Everybody thinks that's going to be a disaster. You do have a lot of people on the right just coming out against that, saying, dude, hang it up, let it go. Joe Scarborough tried to tell him, the same people who are all endorsing and all that George Bush Jr., as soon as all that crap happened in Iraq and he looked horrible, they kicked him and his family out of the party. They kicked George Bush Sr. and Jeb Bush out of the Republican Party when they got sick of George Bush Jr. And that's what Joe Scarborough was trying to tell Trump. You're a day trader. You don't know how this politics thing works out. You know what I'm saying? This is how politics works. When it's politically expedient to put our arms around you, we will. But when we're done with you, in the words of McConnell, we will drop you like a hot rock. And now a lot of people on the right are dropping Trump like a hot rock. It is what it is. You get your just desserts. I have gone on record, and I'll say it again. The worst thing that ever happened to Trump will be being president. He wanted it so bad. He wanted the power so bad. The worst thing that could ever happen to him is becoming president, because all that little nasty, terrible stuff he used to do in darkness, because he was just another old white man doing his thing in America, nobody cared about him. Now that he's been president, everybody's looking at him. So now all that horrible stuff that he's done comes to light, and the worst thing that could happen to him is becoming president. It made him real, real hot. In the words of a criminal, it made him hot. He was low key, now y'all hot because he's president. Anyway, let's talk about the last thing that I want to talk about. Let's talk about a little pop culture. Pop culture. Let's talk about hip hop. Let's talk about rap. Listen, 21 Savage gonna sit there and say that Nas is irrelevant. Oh my lord. Okay, I put that in the chat I'm in, and then somebody fired back at me and said, first of all, 21 Savage talking about Nas is irrelevant. That shows that he's just out of touch. Obviously, Nas is not irrelevant. And that kind of deaded that conversation. I hear that. I haven't heard anything about Nas saying anything back to this, but I guess not, because he actually answered this before this came up. Let me tell you, I was watching The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and Nas was on there, and he was talking about The King's Disease 3 and the album and all that good stuff. But he was also talking to Trevor Noah about how he was saying that in hip hop or in rap, they need to get out of the mind state or the thinking that I have to vie for this number one spot. He said there's a lot of different genres within hip hop. There's a lot of different people doing big things in those different genres. So he said we're not all fighting for one spot anymore. And a lot of us need to get that through our heads. Okay, he said that, and then I see this thing, 21 Savage says Nas is irrelevant. There it is. 21, he's a younger brother. He don't get it. He don't get it. Now, I want to preface this with saying, first of all, Drake and 21 Savage, their album, Her Loss, goes hard. I love that album. I like 21 Savage. I think I've dissed him back in the day, but the more and more I've heard stuff from him, I've heard a lot of intelligent stuff from him. He talked about how he stopped wearing chains because all the super rich people he met didn't wear chains. Just really intelligent stuff I've heard from this guy. So I stopped not liking him. I like him a lot. I like his verses. I like his lyrics. Like I said, that this Her Loss album that he got with Drake, Off the Chain, is dope. I like it. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. Nas's album, King's Disease, is dope. Dope, dope, dope. You know what I'm saying? Hit Boy, he done breathed new life back into Nas. Not that Nas was ever missing a beat, but sometimes a lot of Nas's production just wouldn't be there. This young guy, Hit Boy, man, he gives Nas some really good beats, and Nas has always had those bars. He's always had stories to tell and all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he's a master at his craft. So when I hear this, I'm like, really, this is a problem that only exists in hip-hop. Hip-hop is the only genre that does not respect the legends. You know, and I think it's because of that stuff that Nas was talking about, how everybody in hip-hop feels like they're vying for this number one spot. But you're not. There's a lot of different genres in hip-hop. How about this? The people checking for Nas, you know, the people checking for King's Disease, the people checking for Fat Joe are not the people who are checking for Juice WRLD or Trippie Redd. But guess what? There's plenty of people out there checking for Trippie Redd. You know what I'm saying? And Juice WRLD. They getting plenty of money, and that's fine. There's plenty of people over here checking for Tyler, the Creator. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of people over here checking for 21 Savage. You see my point? That is where hip-hop has gotten. It's gotten to a genre that's so big that this guy over here is making gazillions. This guy over here is making gazillions. And they're both rappers. They're both MCs. But they in different genres. You know, they're doing different styles of this music. You know, there's plenty of people checking for DaBaby, right? You know, there's plenty of people checking for Lil Baby, but there's also plenty of people checking for Moneybagg Yo, right? So this music, there's plenty of it to spread around. We don't have to all be vying for that same spot. So 21, you got to get out of that. Like I said, you don't see that in any other genre. You always have to pay homage to the legends or the people who came before you. You stand on their shoulders. 21 Savage, do you not know that you stand on the shoulders of a Nas, of a Big Daddy Kane, of a Rakim, of a Biz Markie? If it wasn't for these brothers doing what they did, sir, you would not be able to do what you do. You know, Little Yachty's and all of y'all wouldn't be able to do what you do if it wasn't for Grandmaster Flash. if it wasn't for the Sugar Hill Gang, if it wasn't for Kool Moe Dee, think about that. Future wouldn't be able to do what he do if it wasn't for some of these legends, some of these greats. So when you talk about them, you should talk about them with respect in your heart, respect coming out your mouth, because you stand on these people's shoulders. They laid the groundwork. Now, sometimes you see, like the case where Lupe Fiasco kind of dissed Tribe Called Quest. He had said he had never heard Tribe Called Quest and didn't want to hear Tribe Called Quest. Now that kind of hurt my heart when I heard that. But now I gotta remember this a young guy, and he didn't know nothing of a Tribe Called Quest. Now, Tribe Called Quest back in the days was like the Beatles. Tribe Called Quest was the only hip-hop group that I've known, and I haven't known another hip-hop group since Tribe Called Quest. I've talked about it on the show, that had music that everybody listened to. You could be hanging out with some kids that was in private school, they be playing Tribe Called Quest, and then you could be out on the Ave and hear a dope boy going by playing Tribe Called Quest. They had that type of breath. You know what I'm saying? They had that type of range with their music. And I haven't heard anyone since Tribe Called Quest who could pull that off. So that T.I. is what a T.I. is. Lupe Fiasco dissed him. He's young. He didn't know. I bet by now, if I went and talked to Lupe Fiasco about Tribe Called Quest, he'd probably have something different to say. You know? But it is what it is, right? Now, back a little while ago, Madonna, she acted like she was mad that these young women have it easier than her. She had talked about how she had released a book, how in the book I was kissing men, and I was kissing women, and talking about my sexuality, and then I went around on all these shows and was berated, and now these young women did it and had a clown emoji, and then, you know, Cardi B was mad about it, and then got together and talked about it, and they're all good now. Point being, how can you not get that through your head? That's what this is about. You're to inspire the next generation. They stand on your shoulders. That is appropriate. You're here to do what you do in the hopes that someone else will see it and be like, wow, I want to do that, and maybe even do it better, or maybe take it to somewhere it hasn't been taken to before, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this is about. And I always pay homage to legends. You know, I let people know all the time, yeah, I'm influenced by Big Daddy Kane. Yeah, I'm influenced by the Cold Crush. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm influenced by Biz Markie, but I'm also influenced by, you know what I'm saying, Nickelback. You know what I'm saying? I'm also influenced by Morrissey. You know what I'm saying? T.I. is what a T.I. is. You cannot forget the legends. You cannot forget the greats. You have to pay them homage. You have to pay them respect. With that said, that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. I am Phys Ed Music. This is Urban Politics. I want to thank you for liking and subscribing, Please, as soon as you have a chance, take your little cell phone over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Phys Ed Music, Urban Politics, and as always, see you around like a donut.